Okay, we're live. Pankration Philosophy, episode 58. Yeah. My name's Pocholo Cruz. That's
Scott McDonald.
Hey, Scott, nice t-shirt you're wearing there, by the way.
It's a plug real quick.
What's that?
Pick up your Pankration Philosophy t-shirt. I don't know the cost because I literally just got this one right now. I actually didn't even know this. I don't even think I knew this existed, bro.
I told you weeks ago, but it's okay.
But yeah, you know me. But yeah.
Yeah.
We're excited. We're excited.
Well, we're excited about the shirts. We're also excited about our guest here today, who is...
I'm Demetrious Johnson. I train at AMC Pankration. I've been training with these guys for about probably 14, 15 years.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Long time.
Yes. Yeah. Well, DJ, thanks for joining us.
Of course.
Taking the time. Yeah. So let's see. Let's open up with the first question. So how did you get first involved in martial arts?
I mean, after I got done wrestling in high school, after high school state, I didn't even do track. I did sports throughout my whole entire, middle school, high school.
Yeah, so let's start. So what sports did you first get into?
I did...
cross country.
Yeah, I did cross country. But the first sport was football, basketball, cross country, track, wrestling. I did all the sports. And then the one sport I loved the most was wrestling because it was one-on-one, right?
Okay.
Like when I played football, the guys be in the back smoking weed and...
Wait, middle school or...
Both!
What school did you go to again? Were you in Parkland?
Parkland, Keeping Middle School, and then high school was Washington High School. So they'd be smoking...
Oh, of course, bro.
They'd be smoking the guns in the back. And then we'll get down there and Coach Jefferson like, get your ass run gassers now! And I'm like... Well, I gotta run gassers. My black ass showed up on time, and here I am running gassers. And so after that,
you can go ahead and run those gassers, DJ.
Pretty much.
I love it.
And we would spend the whole practice being punished for somebody else's actions.
That was the sport I played in high school, though. Was I smoked as much weed as possible, and I got really good at it, and then skipping class.
Nice.
I was
Did that increase your lung capacity?
No, but you know what? I did great. And we had a wrestling coach who had no neck. His name was Mr. Ellis, and I used to mess around with the wrestlers and just talk shit. I'd be like, "Oh, I'll slap all you guys up," and then I would wrestle with some of them and do okay. And Ellis would walk up to me like this.
Yeah.
He'd be like, "McDonald, when you gonna suit up?" I was like, "I ain't never suiting up, Ellis." I was like, "You're not gonna make me wear that goddamn singlet."
That's always funny. That's how all wrestling coach recruit people is that you mess with them. You're like, "Oh, you wrestle suck." Then he goes, "Well, why don't you come out here and try? Why don't you figure it out?" And I think it's a great way to recruit. I mean, that's how I got recruited, and I love wrestling, and that's what kind of propelled me to. After I got done with my wrestling career, I didn't want to do track. I was like, there's nothing left. Nobody goes and makes money off the track after high school.
Very
few. Then that's when after I got done, I saw The Ultimate Fighter. I saw Rashad Evans working out, and it wasn't the competition between each other. Okay. It was more just them working out and be able to defend themselves. And then went to a gym, started punching the bag, and the rest was history.
And at that, when you say you went to a gym, you went to Vision Quest.
Yep.
Can you describe Vision Quest?
Vision Quest was basically a gym that was run by Brad Schwartz, and he had a vision from the movie that wrestling movie Vision Quest. Wasn't a big fan of it, by the way.
Yeah. It gets like cult status, but I think it's just because there's no other wrestling movies.
Exactly, right?
How many wrestling movies are there?
And there's actually, I think it's the only one, to be honest with you. Actually, there's Foxcatcher.
There's Foxcatcher, but that didn't come until
a long time.
Yeah. There's like so many boxing movies, but there's like one wrestling movie. It's like Vision Quest, Foxcatcher.
And Shoot's walking up the stadium steps with the log.
Yeah, exactly.
You're gonna make weight?
Yeah.
I'm gonna make weight, Shoot. All right.
Yeah, exactly. So
ridiculous.
That gym was kind of predicated off. That's where the name came from. But it was a gym basically. You had boxing ring, wrestling mats, and they had classes there.
Like two bags.
And they had a whole weight system, and then they had basically a aerobics court as well.
Okay.
And I went there and I just signed up and started taking classes, and the coaches were Steve Skitt and Luke Pittman.
Okay. And did you just start with just trying to work out? Or
just work out. I just took the classes Monday and Thursday. Luke and Steve would teach, and one thing led to another. I would do basic boxing, basic jiu-jitsu, and then basic kickboxing, Muay Thai, and then I would just keep going to class every day. I'm not every day, Mondays and Thursdays, and I was working full time at Journey's Shoe Store and Red Lobster, and also going to school full time as well.
So that's a lot of stuff on your plate.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, and then so then how did that start changing then from you just working out until like, so what made you like want to compete?
Yeah, so it reminded me kind of high school, right?
Okay.
I kept on going, and then Steve was like, "Hey, we have amateur competitions going on. Do you want to compete?" And I was like, "Sure, why not?" And I think I was training 5 to 6 months into AMC Pankration. It was the satellite school, obviously, Vision Quest. And then I was like, "Okay, sure, sounds good," and had my first fight and won that, and it was good. And I was like, "Sweet, I'm going back to work, and you let me know the next one is." And I did another one, and just kept on doing them. And then eventually it got to a point where Matt was like, we'll go up to Axe, Edmonds, where you're competing now, and the rest of the guys at AMC, Scott competed up there. You competed at Edmonds?
Actually, no. I competed at Brian Johnson's promotions, and then when Genesis was around, that's what you did. I had my belt at Brian Johnson's and then Genesis.
Gotcha, yeah. So I competed a couple times at Brian Johnson. Most of my time was spent up in Edmonds with Charlie's C3, his promotion. And then eventually, there's that progression of the evolution where Matt's like, all right, it's time for you to go pro. I had a Muay Thai fight competing against Scott. He broke my rib. And then ended up fighting Lupe Hudgens, broke my hand there. And then after I broke my hand, I had surgery, and Matt was like, okay, you're going to do one more. Then we're going to turn you, I think it'd be time for you to go pro because one, we can't find you fights, and two, you're starting to break your body when you're fighting. Yeah. And he goes, at least you can get paid and have insurance. And then that's when I went, kind of pro. That was like kind of like the evolution of it.
Okay. Did you have something to say, Scott?
Yeah, I think in between you fought that dude, Jose Garza. Because that's when I came up.
Was that the guy with the long...
No, that was Eddie, or what was his name? Alvarez. And you beat the shit out of that guy.
Jose Garza. That sounds familiar.
Yeah,
possibly.
Jose Garza. I remember because that's... After our fight, my cousin Noah, who you raced in cross country, you remember Noah?
Yeah.
DJ raced him in cross country. Came up to my job and was like, "DJ's fighting. You should go up and watch
this was
him."
After you fought him?
Yeah, and then I came in the back and we talked.
Oh, that's right. That was at Axe.
And you came out and just hit him with some like 3-piece and a soda, and then took him down and just snatched his arm. And I was like, "Yeah, I'm training with this dude." Yeah. I was like, "I'm surrendering." Yeah, man. And then I wanted to just tell the viewers, if they want to see his DJ's first fight, it's on an AMC Pacific highlight. You just search it in YouTube, AMC Pacific 2.1. It's right at the beginning there, and you cross-face him and punch him a bunch of times. So
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, check it out. His first amateur fight.
So. Okay, so how was that transition then from amateur to professional? Like, was it?
I mean, it definitely was tough, but at the same time, I would say the reason I was tough is because I was working full time, right? Yeah. I was working a full time 40-hour-week job, and I always push that on everybody who trains, right? Because I mean, in mixed martial arts, it's literally a window of opportunity where real small, right? Yeah. And you have injuries, and it costs money to have an overhead and pay bills and stuff. And me and Matt were I always laugh when I think back. Matt's like, "You need to quit your job." I was like, "Matt, I ain't quitting a damn thing." I was like, "Until you can guarantee me a check for $400 every damn week, I ain't doing nothing." He goes, "I don't know why you just keep on working, just train. You're gonna be fine." I was like, nope. So that was the hardest thing is balancing the work and the full time career. To where my Matt will call me. I'd be at that warehouse working, and then Matt would, "Hey, we got a fight offer. You think you get the weekend off?" I was like, "I gotta go ask my boss," right? To where you think about anybody else who's a professional athlete in this sport of mixed martial arts, they're like, "Hell yeah, I'll quit my job today." But no, I was like, "No, I'm gonna go ask my boss." My boss was like, "I'll see if I can work." And then that was probably the hardest transition. Other than that, like the competition wise, like no shin pads, no knee pads, elbows, knees to the head.
Too risky.
It was pretty easy transition over to the pro, but. I think it's great that the amateurs nowadays have knee pads, shin pads, no elbows, no knees to the head, just because, like Scott said, it is risky. You're risking a lot, especially when you're not getting paid.
I wanted to hop in the philosophy side real quick because you just talked about how you worked like a labor-based job and trained, and I remember a long time ago you told me about a time you were with Destiny's dad, and you were like. We're going to work with him, and he was doing the same thing over and over and over, and you were just like, you had this moment of consciousness where you're like, how the fuck does someone do this? And he just looked at you and he said, life is monotonous. And that was something big for you. Like, what did you take away from that? Because I remember when you told me that story, because we would go back and forth about work and school, and I'd be like, dude, I'm just getting burnt out from training, and you're like, it's just, you got to keep going.
Yep. I mean, that my father-in-law, he owns a gutter business, and at a time when I was working construction, we would work with mud, make buildings with brick. But in the wintertime, you can't do that because the mud can't set because it's too cold. Okay. And so I had a job with, I started working for my father-in-law. I would hang gutters, and every day we'd pull up the same house and pull this thing out, measure the roof and get the measurements for the gutter. And I go, fuck, Alan, you do this every day? And he goes, every fucking day. He goes, life is monotonous, DJ. And he goes, how you make things different is you work every day, you make your money, and then you take the money, you do what you want to do with it. And he goes, obviously, I've been doing this, I'm my own boss, do whatever I want. And ever since I heard that, to give a little more context, before I worked at the construction, I worked at a place called Carestar. And that's basically Carestar is basically a recycling plant. It's
recycling plant, okay.
We make, your toilet paper, like this thing right here, like this brown roll right here.
Yeah.
I made these.
Got it.
Like that.
So from recycled materials.
Recycled material, we'll take the paper and then we'll run it through a machine, put glue on it, and not the actual white paper, the brown piece.
The tube
inside. That's what I used to make. So.
Okay.
I was there, and I was there with this guy, and I was like, he goes, I've been here for 15 years. I was like, I was like, damn, you must be making bank. And he goes, look at 12.25. I'm like, what the? I said, what the fuck? I was like, and I quit the job. I quit the job. I put 2 weeks in. Yeah. And then I went and worked hard labor construction. Okay. And at the time, I was making like $14, $15 an hour, which is pretty good back in 2012, depending on where minimum wage was at. So I was working that. But the thing I hate about the job is that I'll be up in Medina working and I get off at 3 o'clock. By the time I got back to the yard to get to my car and get to Vision Quest, it was already 6 o'clock. Yeah. And so class started at 5, so I was already missing class. Yeah. And then the wintertime came, I went and worked with Alan, and then that's when Alan was like EFD every fucking day. Me and Joel, James always say that there every day, every fucking day. And that's when I was like, you know what? Alan told me that, he says, it's about finding things you want to do in life that you love. And I was like, you know what? I love to train. That's what I wanted to do. So I quit my great paying job of construction, because in construction you can keep on going up. We had guys working on construction making $30 an hour. Yeah. Just building buildings. So I quit that job, and I went back to the $10.76 an hour. Damn. Carestar, because the schedule was 7 to 3, and
so you could attend training.
I could attend training. I can do my conditioning before class, and then start class at 5. It would be 5 to 7, and that's what I did every day. I wake up, get to the warehouse at 7 o'clock in the morning, work from 7 to 3, no break. You get 2 15-minute breaks, and then go to the gym, work out from 5 to 7, go home, sleep, do it all again. That was like my life for a very, very long time. And that's like, that resonated with me. And that's how it is even today. I mean, I wake up every single day, I go downstairs, start making breakfast, cook my 2 eggs, my 2 chicken maple sausage, get my lactose-free chocolate milk, get my glutamine in it. Boys come downstairs, make them breakfast, get them off, go off doing the same thing. So life is monotonous, but it's about, creating memories with your family, your friends, and traveling the world and do whatever you want to do.
Okay. So while it's both that routine, you still find that time to enjoy yourself.
Oh, 100%. When I get a chance to play video games or hang out with wife or the kids or whatever it is.
You can just say something about video games?
I want to finish on what I got a whole bunch of stuff on video games. Because that's a part of your personal philosophy.
Yeah.
And I have a whole bunch of stories that I want him to respond to. But I wish you would have been appreciated more in the UFC for that like working class mentality that you have, because there's tons of Americans and people across the world who get up, they go to work, they take care of themselves, and they struggle. And there's a lot of philosophers that talk about what happens when we actually confront monotony. And some people confront it and they can't get over it. Or it's just like, what do I do? Where's meaning? Because there's nothing out here in the universe that just comes out and says this is what your meaning is. It's actually really silent, And a philosopher, Albert Camus, talks about that, and what do you do in light of and Potrola knows about him, the absurdity. And I think you had a perfect response to that. It's like, okay, I know it's monotonous, I know parts of it suck, but if I do this, then I can find bits of freedom. And most people get up and do that, and they're just trying to get free, and they're trying to overcome struggle. And I wish that would have been more a part of your legacy, because you know, you have these like what do you call it, eccentric athletes in the UFC now. And most of us can't fucking relate to those guys. Mm-hmm. Most of us can relate to someone like you who's just doing the day in and day out grind.
And you would think in America, in reality, that would translate over to more Americans. But in my philosophy, and my thing, they're like...
Majority of people are working class.
Majority of people are working class. And that's what I, you know, pride myself off, is that I was a working class athlete. You know, I wasn't a guy who was like, this is my dream. You know, I didn't have a dream to be a professional athlete. That's the biggest thing that I think got me so far, right? Like, I just went to the gym and started training and learned how to fight. And because at the time, in reality, there was no 125, 135. You know, I didn't know anything about Japan or Shuto. And so there was no end game goal for me. It was basically like, oh, this is something I can do outside of working every 9 to 5 to give me some extracurricular activity. But I think the reason why I didn't resonate well in North America is because how can you sell that story? Nobody don't want that story. Nobody out there doesn't want to hear a man who grinds 9 to 5 and goes to the gym and does this and goes home. That sounds boring as fuck to them. They want drama. They want conflict, right? Like, you look at this, and it's the true reality. Like, I remember there was a story that was written up, and it was Akon. Yeah. Akon and Young G. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Great 90s. Great music, right?
Yeah.
I remember there was a story that he went to Africa and he provided so many villages with clean water, electricity.
Big time.
Huge story. And I was like, that's awesome. You know what took precedent over that?
Tell me.
Some I think it was one of Kardashians.
I was just about to say that.
Did something.
Kylie has a new jacket.
Yeah, something like that took way more precedent over there, right? And then that's right there. That's what people want to see, and that's totally fine. But for me, that's why I think how America is that they want to resonate more with drama, what's going to fulfill their life, what's going to entertain them. They're not entertained by somebody who works 9 to 5, who didn't have a dream of a professional athlete. That's just how I see it. And so for me, you know, even when I do like my vlogs and all that stuff, and you know, I'm trying to find content to do stuff, I'm like, you guys don't understand. This is my life. This is what I choose to do. I'm not gonna, you know, make funny YouTube videos just so you can fucking laugh. Like, I'm not gonna do that. Like, that's not. If I wasn't gonna do YouTube videos to make you laugh, then why would I do it just to get you to watch me? You know what I mean?
So, right. And that's the thing when people ask me about you and they're like, oh, how's DJ? I'm like, he's the same dude. Yeah. To me, you have had the same message, you've had the same mentality, you've reaped the fruits of your labor for sure, and that's changed a little bit of things, but the message has been so consistent. You push the boulder up the hill, it comes back down, you look at it and you're like, well, gotta do it again.
Exactly. Well,
and you're not frustrated with that, you embrace it.
Yep.
And I think most people should look at that, because I mean, a ton of us get burnt out, and like, you even talked to me early about like working too hard. Like, there's a way to work smart, and then there's a way to work too hard and go do too much. And that's in our culture too, though. Work yourself to death, chase this American dream, do this. Oh, you're sick, you keep the rat race. And I think you've really balanced your life in a way. And I want to talk about the comic book stuff, but could you?
I think what you just said right there was a great analogy. Like, if the boulder comes up, that boulder could be responsibility, it could be day-to-day life, it could be grind, it could be gym, it could be diet, it could be whatever you want. And you push it up the hill, and when you push it up the hill, you succeeded for that day. And guess what? When your ass take a sleep, that pull that motherfucker right back down. You wake up like, you son of a bitch. Like, pop my ass right back down and push right back up the hill, right? And so I think that's a great analogy that you hit on the pin. And I think that's life. That's just, you know, how it is every day. That grind to grind. I mean, today I came in and did my work, came over here, had, you know, my diet food, and you know, I've been at this podcast and sharing a great time building memories with you guys.
Yeah.
And this is something different. This is something out of the ordinary, right? You know, typically I'll go back to the gym and sit there, relax, and play my video games and get ready for the next training session. But I think for people, they got to find your passion and do that. And then if you're so good at your passion, if you can ever monetize it, then that's fantastic.
Yeah.
But at the same time, don't get so locked on a dream to where you can never, you know, push away your responsibilities, your bills, get behind on all that stuff just to chase a dream. You know, you have to grind and be able to make enough money to be able to continue your passions and survive. And that's the thing that people don't want to hear. And I get, you know, motivation from
it's not as endearing for sure.
Exactly, right?
Yeah. Well, because I think that notion of slow progress or progress that you need to keep consistent.
Mm-hmm.
It's like everyone's kind of enamored with that get rich quick, get money now kind of thing. It's just, or that instant gratification.
Yep.
You know, from there, and I think that's something that's really lost, especially. I mean, it's easy to say, but on this like current generation that's like coming up because people are so used to getting things like now, when in reality, to get anything great, you have to spend a lot of time. Like, anything. There's no easy path to success.
No, and I want to respond to that too, because I think I have sympathy for the younger generation simply because it's a difficult time to try to carve out that existence now. There's always been difficult times, but it's a really sort of...
It's a different kind of particular difficulty.
Precarious kind of time now.
Yeah.
And I also think that what's happening is everyone else's life is broadcasted around us more than ever before.
Yeah.
Social media. You can literally follow someone you admire from when they wake up in the morning to when they take a shit to when they doing this and that. And often that causes, I think, great like mass insecurity.
Yeah.
Because you're being told your definition of success is being projected towards you.
Yeah.
And then it's really hard for you to realize, okay, I have a lot of control over how I want to exist.
Over your own life. Yeah.
There's certainly constraints how I grow up. Mm-hmm. Like what neighborhood do I grow up in? Is my family poor? But even within that, you can slightly transcend it, if you make that right choice, and you've talked about that a lot.
Yeah, I think when you guys talk about like how you said in society today for the millennials, like Ender's age or whatnot, right, 16, 14, whatever.
Producer Young Ender over there.
Yeah, Producer Young Ender there. Yeah. Think about if there was no social media. When you were saying that you can follow someone from when they wake up in the morning and take a shit until they do whatever they do, right? Mm-hmm. That's only because that person is opening the doors for that person to see what's inside their life.
Yeah.
But
it's a controlled window.
It's a controlled window that they're opening the window up, and then birds and the bees and everybody's gonna fly in there and just fuck his shit up. Like, wait, you fat, you whatever, right? But imagine like one of the things I try to do is when I'm not getting ready, when I'm not training for the day, I literally don't even jump on social media. I don't jump on my phone. I might do a little bit here and there, but I don't even touch it. I wouldn't even look at social media, who's doing what or what's going on. And it's incredible like how damn good I feel to where I'm like, I don't give a fuck's going on outside the world. Like I don't even know what's going on. I don't even know what's going on what's in this house, right? And that's one of the things that I try to do is when I am like between my training sessions, I just play video games. Phone calls, nothing. Nothing matters to me. I'm just focused and I don't worry about anything else. And to elaborate on, I say you're worried about the younger generation and how they're going to live in society. As I get older and, I went to college, but I didn't finish college, I sit here and I'm like, okay, what is successful? How does somebody become successful, right? Mm-hmm. Like Ender's dad, he worked at Microsoft. And for me, I was like, holy shit, you worked at Microsoft. I could never work at Microsoft. And then I look at different people like investors and how they get there. And they're like, people tell you, don't get in debt, don't do this, don't do blah, 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 blah. And then I have one guy that I kind of look up to. He's not inspiring, but I see him be successful. His name's Grant Cardone, and he's a, multi-billion-dollar hedge fund manager or whatever. Mm-hmm. And he was like, in society, when I was 25, they said, do not take debt, don't do this, go to school, borrow money, do blah, 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 blah.
But that's getting in debt.
That's getting in debt, right? Yeah. And he goes, that's nonsense. You want to be in debt. You want to get in debt because you can use that debt to build wealth and make sure when you get that debt, you can leverage it on things that are going to make you money. And then when you make the money, you pay the debt off, then you get another. Just hearing different philosophy of how he goes about it, I'm just like, I didn't learn that. Is Ender going to? It's a completely different viewpoint, right? Of like how once you become 18, how do you move on in life? Do you go get a job, right? Like in my sport, like when I was 18, I was like, I'm gonna go to college because that's what I'm supposed to do. Don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do.
That's the pathway that was presented to you. Like, okay, what do I do?
What do I do?
High school life,
right? That's the thing I am worried about with our society, right? Like even for my children, it's like time to turn 60 now. I'm like, all right. Woo, we got 14 more years. I think my math's right.
Yeah.
Math's right. 14 more years,
Yeah.
What the fuck's he
If
going?
You're nice.
Four.
No. Yeah, no, you're right. Your math's right, yeah.
No, she could be 20 years old.
Yeah, I was looking at that. I was like, your math's
12
right.
more years.
Yeah,
12 more years.
Yeah.
And I'm worried. And he's not even... I'm worried. I'm like, what is he going to do? Because as I've become successful off of my hard work through mixed martial arts and finding other ways to monetize my life and my likeness and my brand. But will my son and my children be able to do that, or will Ender be able to do that, or whatever? That's the thing I worry about society, because in school nowadays they don't teach that. They don't teach like, okay, this is how when you get your first job when you're 18 years old, if your company has a 401k and matching clause, you fucking dip into that because they're giving you free money. And people nowadays, they don't start putting money in their 401k until like 45 years old. Guess what, Dick? It's too late. You've already missed the boat. That's the stuff that, I hope our younger generation gets tied, and that's what I put on my children. So that's what I wanted to say about, like, when you're talking about, you're feel sorry for the generation nowadays. I totally agree with you. I do feel sorry because they're not going to learn that day-to-day grind, that workmanship, because not everything's predicated off of social media. Like, oh, hey, look at me, that girl's so fat. You know what I mean? And that's just the way society is.
Yeah, and it's they're inheriting a lot. Like, yeah, just even issues with our environment and our planet right now are really, 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 really concerning. And so, like, the younger generation is inheriting that, and they're also coming into an economy that is subject to, like, highs. That's what the smart investors talk about, riding that wave of investment and return, and then when they can sense that a stock is going to be volatile, they're out. But then what happens is then all of us, we share the burden, the taxpayers, and I'm really concerned about, like, those things happening where then jobs, like, we have like a different level of depression in the economy, and education is the first step too. And, like, I work in a middle school, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, we're learning about algebra. I get that it builds critical thinking, reading builds critical thinking, but there should be a different class that's like, okay, you guys are, especially for 8th graders, you're getting ready to go into high school, and let's talk about managing your affairs. Let's talk about bills, and let's talk about credit and all these things, because that credit's a game too. Yeah, 100%. And the people that benefit off your debt don't want you to know really how to handle it.
100%.
And then, so yeah, I mean, there's a lot there, and hopefully we'll get there. It's like being social stewards. Taking care of your environment, like realizing you have a responsibility to your family, but also the world you're a part of. And then also realizing, like, you can really take care of what you have, even if it's a little. And I wish I could teach an ethics class how to deal with a shitty boss. Seriously, how to deal with a volatile employer. What are your rights as an employee? What are unions? What are ways to speak up and ask for a raise? When to know, like, when a company's, all those things could help.
It's just like in Arkansas on Prime Day, the motherfuckers walked out of Amazon Prime, and first time I saw that, I was like, you sons of bitches, get your ass back in there, get the orders out, because you signed the contract, right? And I mean, we can go so many different ways on this whole system. When people talk about the economy right now, I think the economy is thriving. Even when the economy crashed back in 2008, I mean, I was out of high school, I was working a 9-to-5 job. I didn't feel any effects from it. I didn't. I mean, we asked Anders, Dad, did you feel any effects from 2008 when you worked there?
We were able to buy a short sale house.
Boom! So you actually benefited from it, right? So
we couldn't afford the house we live in now. Like, it's increased in so much money.
Exactly. So I think there's both sides to the economy itself. I think there's people.
But the viewpoint is.
It's different, right?
How you look at that situation.
Exactly. Like, if you look at people who are actually able to benefit off the crash, fantastic. I was able to benefit off the crash when I bought my first house in 2000 and I think 13 or 12, because the house only $160,000. I'm sure back in 2000, like, 7 or 2006, she was probably 275,000. Who knows? But certain ways you can go about that.
Yeah. Well, so speaking about viewpoint and stuff like that, I think that's important in terms of, like, content creation. Like you're talking about
100%.
100%. And I think you talked about it on how, when you're developing, like, your vlogs or when you're streaming, you're staying true to yourself, because I mean, that's really all you can do. Because if you play a character that can only last for so long, like, it's just a facade that you're playing on there.
100%. I mean, I guess you could say the person I can relate it to most is Dr. Disrespect. His original name is Guy Bean, but everybody knows him as Dr. Disrespect, and he creates content on Twitch and YouTube. He started on YouTube, but he makes millions and millions of dollars. And every single time he's on Twitch, he's always Dr. Disrespect. And he loves it. He gets a passion from it. And it's absolutely amazing. I'm a huge fan of his. But for me, I can't do that. Like, I can't I don't have the capacity to do it. I don't want to do it.
I can imagine it can be draining. It's like
absolutely
draining.
100% draining. That's why I don't stream as much anymore. Like I used to stream. I will go to the gym every day, come home from the gym, give Destiny a kiss, go wash my ass, eat dinner, go downstairs and stream for 2 to 3 hours every night and go train. Yeah. Just because I wanted to create content. I wanted to make money from streaming. Then I took a step back and I'm like, I wanted to stream to interact with my fans on a different platform, not to make money, right? And so I've taken a step back from that. But when it comes to creating content for people to watch.
Yeah. And what's the market like for that though?
For Twitch?
Yeah, is it like when you from beginner to like moderate to like
there's a lot of
I feel like I don't know, like I know a whole bunch of YouTube sensations too from working at the middle school. I was never exposed to like
being
PewDiePie,
to youth culture.
Those guys and what is the T series? I mean they have these kids' minds like locked. Like there was kids walking down the hallway like PewDiePie's better than T series, and I'm like, what the. And I had one of my students, because they have issues, was walking around with a giant sign that said, subscribe to PewDiePie. And I'm like, bro, you gotta go to class. He's like, subscribe. And I'm just like, it's intense. And I know he has millions of followers. And so like,
it's a whole different kind of media outlet than what was available, when we were in like middle school.
1,000%.
It's like, it's so different. It's like, I
remember when YouTube first got started and the only thing I looked up on there was Kimbo Slice fight. I was like, this guy's filthy. He's like, come on, let's run it.
Yeah.
And I saw Jorge Masvidal on there.
Yeah, exactly. No, but it's interesting because the way we think about, okay, when we grew up, we saw like Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah.
And that was it. That was all, but it's all derived by like huge companies that make cartoons.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Now it's, kids these days, they're like, I mean, a lot of content creators. I mean, it's not solely them, but they're the face of their own brand.
Yeah,
and that's like so different than from what it was like.
And that's empowering too.
Yeah,
because like I think about like WikiLeaks and that whole thing, or like just how much information we're exposed to. And you talked about
impossible 20 years ago.
You talked about the economy, like in our economic structure. There's negative things, really extreme negative things, and then there's also opportunities that you can seize upon. And it's the same thing with mass information, right? Like DJ just said, he can reach out to his fans, but then we also can look up a whole bunch of things. And so you can be overwhelmed with that, but I also think we have another platform for critique. We're equalizing, like I talked about in one of my classes at UW, like the power platform. Like mass protests were organized via social media, like the Arab Spring,
the effective change, like around
because now you're in contact with so many people. I mean, obviously you have to watch out for what you post on there, and you have to be really careful. But I remember, like, I heard a lot of people just criticize it. Oh, yes, there's the infatuation with the celebrities and all that, but it's also just like a tool. It's like a hammer could be used to hit somebody in the head, or it can also be used to build. And it's like that's what I appreciate about it.
How you use the tool, or is the tool using you?
Exactly.
In that sequence is understanding, what is it used for.
And you just said what you wanted to do is you enjoyed gaming. You always have enjoyed gaming. And you wanted to reach out to those fans that also enjoyed it. And then it was cool because you're a total badass, one of the best fighters in the entire world. And then here you are doing Twitch and being a goofball and laughing and like that's really cool. Like, could you talk more about the passion for that?
Yeah, and to elaborate on that, how you said like back when we were kids in '95, I would assume we didn't have YouTube. I mean, YouTube was probably around, but we had internet, AOL, 56K dial-up. First you hear
AOL Messenger. There's some really weird moments. You want to go private? But I got some weird stories about AOL Messenger.
Let's say that for something.
But then but that's everyone should. We were exposed to. But now, like you said, the outlet we have for YouTube and the content creation, and like you guys said, we can use it either for a negative thing to destroy somebody's life and be absolutely horrible to somebody in social media, or be a dick, or we can use it to build a beautiful brand and create content. And I think when it comes to the marketplace, you guys asked about the marketplace for YouTube and Twitch. The marketplace in the beginning of Twitch is, when I first started, it was literally solely to interact with my fans on a different platform. I got exposed to Twitch when, is that Cody right there?
Yeah, it's
great. I mean, that's why I met Cody, your guys' roommate. I met Cody through Twitch.
Here he is. You're just coming from the camera.
I just heard weird stories and I wanted to come sit down and listen.
Talk about AOL? Say that for another.
So, I met I started streaming on Twitch, and I just want to interact with my fans on different platform. And then eventually I started to be able to monetize it, because once I started streaming on Twitch, they're like, hey, we want to give you a subscription button, and when you subscribe to the channel, it's like $5, and the streamer content creator gets like a percentage of that.
Okay.
And so I started doing that, and I started making money, and I was like, holy shit, I'm gonna make. My goal is to make as much money as if I would if I was working a 40-hour week job. When I was working at $10.76 an hour.
Did you find that opportunity for a revenue stream?
And then I did. I was like, holy shit, man, I'm making like way more money than I was when I was working full time. But then the countless hours I was grinding every single day.
That's true, because it's not like a regular 9 to 5 where hours put in equals
exactly.
Like sometimes I mean it's like a disproportionate kind of ratio.
So I'm like
from there, depending on that.
Yeah.
Right. You don't need to disclose what you make. But let's just say on the better end. Let's say what's the average amount you can make?
It all depends. I mean, one year I did a thing where I went out and worked with Ubisoft. It's not stable. It's not stable because
no, it's not.
Yeah,
it's not. It's just how it is.
Yeah, it's how. I mean, one year I did a gig for Ubisoft, and it paid $20,000, and I went down there and I worked for 4 hours, and that was it. And then but that was 1 year, and then that was also on top of the Twitch stuff revenue that was coming in. But for me, when I streamed on Twitch, I was like, I want to be able to give my fans and audience something different. Yeah. Right. And so what I did is I said, hey, if you subscribe to the channel, because when you subscribe to the channel, like there's nothing when you watch YouTube, I do my vlog or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. I might not make a fucking $0 from that. And I edited my video. It took me 2.5 hours to edit that video. I could have took that 2.5 hours and played video games. I could have took that 2.5 hours and run my wife's feet. I could have took 2.5 hours, went upstairs and did whatever the hell I wanted to. But I took 2.5 hours to edit this video that paid absolutely fucking nothing, right? But they get to the point of this is that when you subscribe to somebody on Twitch, you're paying that content creator, $5, and I feel guilty. So I want to be able to give them something that they would never be able to experience for in their life. And so I told people, and I was like, hey, if you're subscribing to the channel, come out to the fight in Las Vegas. And after that, all you guys get VIP entrance. We're going to go to Top of Chateau. You guys drink vodka, Grey Goose, all on me. Don't worry about a damn thing, right? I think 15 people showed up from the Twitch stream I never met before in my life.
That's so cool, though.
And they showed up. We went to the top of, Chateau, we partied, and they had a great time. And then they go home and they go back in the Twitch stream and they get in the community. And I wanted to build a community that they sit there and they talk about it. And he goes, man, that was a badass party. And he goes, I would never imagine my whole life that I'll be part of a community and be able to go to go to Vegas and be able to drink Grey Goose on Top of Chateau VIP.
Well, you gave them an experience.
I gave them an experience. And that's what I did
with you.
With me,
instead of like the weird distance that a lot of people put between themselves and the fans.
Yes.
And you made yourself accessible, and that's just you made yourself accessible to the people, and that's really cool. Yeah, and it was genuine. It wasn't like, hey, you gotta get some marketing out there. You're like, I want to do this. Yeah. I choose to do this.
Exactly. And then even
controlled window once again.
Exactly. And even with people like they'll come to the channel, we build this community. They'll be like, oh, I can't subscribe. Time's going on. And I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. Dude, don't worry about it. Like. I'm not here to collect money. I'm here to.
You're not a tax collector.
I'm like, you better subscribe to the channel or whatever. I'm like, subscribe to the channel if you want. If not, don't worry about it. Like, I'm still gonna be here, whether you're not or not. So.
Oh, that reminds me. Yeah, I think another person that found your channel or your Twitch stream was Irving, wasn't it? Was
Irving?
Irving. Yep. He came up, and that's the thing. Like,
shout out to Juarez over there.
Yeah.
I mean, even when he came, like when we met him. Well, I met him, but when he came to the channel, he goes, "Man, I want to come train." I was like, "Just come fucking train." He goes, "Are you sure?" And I was like, "Yeah." Like, come up, pay the monthly fee like everybody else did, like I did when I first started training. Yeah. And you come train, and he did, and great guy, great experience. I haven't seen
relationships, community,
So I hope he comes back.
He's currently still there. He's going to school, doing all this stuff. Shout out El Jaguar, wherever you are.
I like how when you talk about social media and like you're doing like this admirable thing, because a lot of people can get famous off of stupid shit.
100%.
Like just Bonk Gang. You ever seen that guy?
Oh yeah, Bonk Gang and run out of the
this guy used
gang. What is this?
He's oh gosh. I don't know if he was a rapper.
Jenkins is another example.
Leroy Jenkins.
But that was different. That was actually comical because he was playing WoW. So.
But Bonk Gang was kind of like just a idiot who has like tattoos all on his face, and what he would do is he just run.
Tattoos make shit.
He'd walk into stores and he'd be like, "Oh yeah, this this is a good bonk gang, and he'd run out of the store with it
And steal it.
and steal it. But he just kept getting like views and views and views, and that's the other thing is a lot of people like stupid shit.
But-
Like the Cash Me Outside girl.
Yeah, but
Catch Me Outside. Next thing you know, she's rapping and she's up there. Yeah, Catch Me Outside. How about that? And everyone's like, Catch Me Outside. How about
no
that?
talent whatsoever in the world. But let's rewind it to the very beginning of like in America. What do we thrive off of?
Bomb Gang and Cash Me
Bomb
Outside.
Gang,
That's
Catch
what
Me
it goes.
Outside, which creates drama between people. Because can you imagine if I told, and I was like, hey, catch me outside. Right now, everyone's like, oh shit, they're mother watch this, right?
Bro, or remember Tyrone?
Yeah.
I'm Tyrone. I'm gonna fuck your wife.
Yeah,
Long
exactly.
dick style. Like,
Yeah.
and he was just running up on random people in the
saying
street,
that.
and then he got a boxing fight
Yep.
against the what was the big dude's name? I got a bald head. He ended up boxing him.
Oh,
I forget
man.
his name is. But I know you're talking
Or
about,
Logan Paul.
Yeah.
And and it's just like I sit back and I watch
All
him. I'm
these
like,
train wrecks. And
I'm like, what value are they adding? They're just adding sensationalism. But here's the thing, bro.
people like sensationalism.
It
Like
gets
that
my
people
brain.
on
My
the
value system is in the interaction.
Yeah,
with
you start to question your value system because like this guy's making an ass of himself and he's making millions of dollars. Here I am working at fucking
We're gonna
Michael's craft store trying to make a decent living. And
shout
I'm
out to
thinking,
Michael's Craft Store.
It's
We
a
know
great
you guys
store.
bust your ass.
Yeah.
Just my girlfriend a gift card.
Yeah, come in there.
Michael's sponsor Pankration Plus.
Yeah. So I mean, I totally get where I totally get where you're coming from when it comes to that, and that's just the side we live in, and yeah, there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, and it's just crazy to me because like even like you know the Logan Paul thing where he was in Japan.
Yeah, he went to
Suicide Forest.
Suicide
Is that
Forest,
what
yeah.
you're talking about?
Yep.
Yeah, and then the apology that he gave afterwards, it was almost like just too many things were manufactured. I like watch that apology and I like watch his face and I'm like,
It's
this
a
is to
business-
save viewership. It's crazy.
No, it's a business decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Mhm.
Yeah. But I mean, okay, you can look at it like that, but then you can also, it's back again to the point on how the face of it is now a single person. I mean, that's what every corporation does.
Yeah,
Oh,
that happens
yeah.
all the time.
Yeah, and it's a lot easier.
Everything becomes a commodity
No.
form, and then it's an imitation of an imitation of an imitation.
Exactly.
And then someone who's just genuine.
There's less outrage though if it's like a faceless corporation in that sense.
Well, like what I'm saying too is like,
Yeah.
this podcast is great because it's real and people get vulnerable. We've had really powerful conversations. It would be 10 times better if I just got up and threw shaving cream at Pocholo or like
Yeah.
took my shirt off and was like, motherfucker,
Yeah.
smoking, you know, like
If we turn this into
our
online
viewers.
Jerry Springer. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
More
Or it's
right.
like remember
I got the shaving cream right here.
got
I
the
just think we
shaving
do it right
cream.
now.
No, no,
It's our most popular guest.
no, but it's like what was it? Oh, the Sorry to Bother You. Remember that show that he was on? Like
Have
I
you
got
seen
the
Sorry-
shit kicked out of it?
That's what I was just
Yeah.
gonna bring up.
Yeah.
Have you seen Sorry to Bother You? I want you to watch that and we can talk about it.
Okay.
It's a cultural critique of
Who's the director again? He was also a musician.
Boots Riley.
Boots Riley.
Check him out too. That's my boy. But what happens is there's this show where these people are just getting humiliated, shit thrown. So the main character is Cassius Green.
He's a telemarketer.
telemarketer.
Okay.
He's broke. He's going through the working class struggle that you went through, and like he's finding solidarity with his coworkers. But then he becomes a power caller, and so now he's just the shit, making all these calls. And what was his name?
man.
What is the name of that actor? Danny Glover.
Oh,
He's in
yes.
it. And he's like,
Gotta
"No
use
good."
your white- yeah.
He's like, you want to make this money? You got to use your white voice.
Yeah.
So he.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You're talking about that's the Ku Klux.
Yeah, no, he didn't do Black Klansman. Spike Lee did.
Oh, okay,
Boots
gotcha.
Riley did Sorry to Bother You, and it
Okay.
came out at the same time.
Gotcha. Okay.
But
Yeah,
the thing is Boots Riley, it's such a radical film because it's just a cultural critique, capitalism, all that. But he starts using his white voice, and he's like, "Hello, I'm Cassius," and then he starts to get more and more money, and he raises up, and then he finds out the company he works for is just evil.
Yeah.
and it's
We don't want to
exploiting-
spoil the story, but yeah.
Oh yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
for the viewers,
For the view. But no, anyway,
Man.
there was a show on there that was really
where
popular.
he had to get shit thrown on him to get his point out
Yeah.
to the masses. They
Yeah.
covered him in
Yeah.
shit, and he's just sitting there, and he's like, "Yeah, well, there's this company, and
Yeah. But it's kind of, if anything, it's a good allegory for what it has. You have to go through
Yeah.
the shit really to get your message out there.
Yeah, it takes
it's
a
just
long
how
time.
It's just how it goes. Yeah.
we're switching subjects. I'm best at that, bro.
It's all good.
You
It's
know,
all
you never
good.
know what I'm gonna do."
I know it's got for a long time.
Yeah. we skipped over. I want to talk about video games, and I want to start off with a particular moment, and I want to ask you if this was a video game quote or not. The second time you fought Ian McCall, you won, and it was on Fox.
Yep.
And the camera came around to you, and you put your arm like this, and you looked at the camera, and you said, "Your soul is mine. You will never be the same again."
Yeah. I said the soul stone will never be, the soul stone is mine and you'll never have it again, something like that.
Yeah.
Do you know what game that's
like, the soul stone is mine. It was. You will never have it again. What does that mean and what is that from?
Well, at the time, this
is when
this is when Diablo 3 came out, and Asmodon, I think is his name. He
like villain.
One of the big villains, which is one of the faces of evil. So I think there's 6 of them.
Yeah.
There might be 7. He might be right.
Yeah.
Or brother. How many brothers is Ariel, Daryl? I don't know. Anyways,
the bad guy.
It was one of the bad guys, and in one of the girls' dreams, he's talking about like that soul stone is going to be mine. Yeah. And you know, video games was always a big inspiration to me. And it was a game that just came out, and I was looking forward to playing it, and I was like, soul stone.
There it is. This goes way back to our training too. But remember little Matt Summersmith? He used to come and train with me. He's a shorter dude, blonde hair. Cameron was his brother. Cameron now trains with Drew. You remember little Matt?
I have to see him.
Anyway, we watched that fight, and he's like, he's talking about taking someone's soul. There's children watching. But yeah, DJ used to like get in the ring, and he would do all these like physical antics before his fights, and I always ask him afterwards. I remember one time he went like that, and I was like, what are you doing? You're like, oh, I was just Magneto.
Yep.
I was like channeling Magneto
in the old X-Men arcade game.
Yep. And it was playtime.
Yeah.
It's over.
And Colin talked about this too. When you would spar with Colin, he would like do this thing called Holy Shield or something.
Oh, Holy Shield! Yeah.
He would just fuck Colin up, and Colin came home one day. I was like, bro, how was training? He was like, DJ kept fucking hitting me with the Holy Shield. He was like, goddamn Holy Shield.
What game was that, bro? I mean, that could have been from in Diablo 2. There was a Holy Shield from the Paladin, and then also World of Warcraft was a Holy Shield. You throw it and you hit like 3 people. So, but yeah, I mean, I just love video games, and it's just one of the things that I see it in the animation of the video games, and that's just something I always love to. I'll do it to the day I die. Even with my kids, I'm like.
I love it though, because it's you and it. I've never seen anyone else in the fight game do anything like this. You also did this one time. I forget the fight.
Was that Castlevania thing? What was it?
Yeah, you went. And
I think I was going like this.
Yeah, and you were driving me up to Kirkland. I was like, DJ, because my dad would watch the fight too, and he's like, "What is he doing?"
Oh, I was
thinking, you were like, "Oh yeah, I'm just taking everyone's soul."
Yeah. The game Dark Souls and Onimusha. When you play the first one, you get the Onimusha Gauntlet. I think it was the Onimusha Gauntlet, and you suck everybody's soul up, and then you turn into the Onimusha Super Samurai. And then in Dark Souls, when you kill everybody, you get all the souls, and it powers you up. So that's all I was doing.
So is that like a part of your mental preparation on some level too? Because I know highly creative people, they like have this place they go to, or is it? I mean,
I would say sometimes I don't want to say I go to a dark place, but I do put myself in that dark competitive mode where it's like, it's time to go out there and let's compete.
Like a video, like I'm a handle, like
a video game. Like now that I'm older, you know, I don't think about it.
It's like a job.
No, it's not a job. It's kind of hard to say. Like, I feel like back in the day, like I was more like, like you know, after the fights. But like now, I'm more like, all right, time to go to that dark place and let's get the job done. Then when I get done, I'm like, when I watch the fights, I don't know. I'm still the same, but I don't.
You don't go. Yeah.
I don't go more the video game route anymore.
Yeah, it was amazing though, because I'm like, what is he doing? And then you just beat people's ass. I'm like, what the? You go, and then it's like, is he really powering up? Yeah. I'm like, is this real? And then I would just ask him about it too.
It's almost like gaining like an alter ego kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Alter ego, but it's still me. But I'm just like, that's like when I go to that place. It's like, okay, it's time to go.
It's just like, you know, it's like Peter Parker is Spider-Man, but when he's Spider-Man, it's a different part of him.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the video games, like, can you recall? Like what you talked about Wesker a lot too. I remember you.
Yep, Wesker.
Yeah, you would throw your like right hand and you'd be like, you know, just like Wesker, and like so, and that's from Resident Evil.
Yep.
But if it's aside from
we don't own the rights for any of these video games.
No,
It's all good.
From the fight preparation, like what did those characters and then like looking at video games in that way and then putting into fighting, what did that like do for you? Like what?
I mean, I would say it didn't really do anything for me. Like I was inspired by each of the characters and what were their motives and what was their end game, right? And when you bring up Albert Wesker, I loved him because he was from the very first Resident Evils. You never really knew his end game goal, but you see him in Resident Evil 1. You don't see him in 2. You hear about him a little bit in 2. You hear about him a little bit in 3. And then I think in Resident Evil 4, you hear about him again because Ada Wong. And then Resident Evil 5, he actually comes back and he's off. Actually, excuse me, you actually see him in Resident Evil Code Veronica. I apologize about that, right? Capcom. And then he comes back and he's fast and he can fight. And then he got transferred into Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
Yeah,
and
Capcom 3.
Yeah, and that's when he was like, you don't stand a chance, and you hit him, boom, and hits him.
And like he would do, those are the same like movements and stuff he would do, and I was just like, it's.
I'm just inspired by it. Like it's like people get inspiration from many different things. People get inspired by a person who gives their time to people who need help. I get inspired by people's creations of video game, and Wesker was one of them.
Yeah, and then you also talked about. I remember when I was fighting, I had a certain belief system. Remember that? And we would talk about it back and forth. And I remember you talked about the will, like your will, and you described an analogy from an X-Men movie. I think where. I don't know if it's Magneto or Xavier. I think Magneto's moving something.
Oh yeah,
He's talking about control your mind.
Yep.
You said you were like you had told me I had this faith, and you're like I believe that inspires you. And it did at the time.
Yeah.
But then you said my will. And how do you define that will? Is it the will to win? Is it like? Because I see your will expressed in a couple things: how you compete, how you worked, but then also your mental toughness. You have this like. You don't quit. You push your body. You're already athletic, but I've noticed you get to these points in your fights where it's like you're not breaking. Well, so what's the will to you? How do you define that?
I think it's very hard to define the will and to give more context about the scenario you're talking about on X-Men. I think it was X-Men First Class. I think it was when Xavier was talking to Magneto and he was like, you've always tried to move a satellite dish, and he goes, I just can't do it. And he goes, well, it's because you use your anger for the bad reason. You need to use your anger to be able to use synergy to be able to move it. And then he kind of opened his mind and showed, him his daughter, and I started his mom and all that stuff. But anywho, for me, like, I think I get my will from my upbringing and how, my childhood, my abusive stepfather, see my mom, what she's gone through. For me, when I get in there and start to compete, I'm like, okay, I ask my body 15 or 25 minutes of absolute complete focus. Just give me focus. If I get beat up, I break something, they'll put me back together. That's always been my kind of like my mentality. Okay. And then like when it comes to the will of the training, the in and out grind, the tiredness and all that, it's my job. I want to provide for my kids. I want to give them something that I never had. And I come from, nothing, and I remember having $35 in my checking account, and we just paid bills, and we gotta go to the grocery store, get some taquitos and make that last, and have and then I'll come home and play Castlevania Lord of Shadows. All the stuff that I still never forget that stuff. So I'm not gonna let another man break my will, and I've had my spirit broken when I was in high school. And then once it was broke, I was like, that's a wrestling, yes. I got pinned, and he broke me because I'd never been somewhere. He put me in a position I had never been before in my life. And I was like, that's never going to happen again. And even to this day, and I've experienced things in my life that I've never been before that, I don't want to say I have PTSD, but it makes me, it opens my mind to like, holy shit, like this is in-game or whatever. But so that's where I get my will from. Like, I'm not gonna let another man, beat me. If a man beats me or whatever in the fight, that's fine. But I'm still, my will's not broken. And that's it's kind of hard for me to be like, boop, that's my will right there. But it's kind of like where I derive and pull strength in from all that stuff to, I guess, have a strong will.
Well, I think you described it in terms of like past reflection and then feeling the pain of where you had been at physically, mentally. It's like, I don't want to be here again. And a lot of people, we all struggle with different things, but I think a lot of people don't know how far it goes just to make a decision.
Yeah.
You know, even in light of mental illness, physical limitations, economic issues, there's just this small window that gets bigger and bigger each good decision you make. Right?
Yeah, you would hope so. You would hope so.
Sometimes
it's like that momentum of good decisions, essentially.
Yeah. And sometimes shit just happens and it's brutal and people go out in horrible ways or just unexpected things happen. But while we're here, it's like that will is so important, just the will to make a small decision. Like I think about people who get sober. Like, and the amount of struggle it takes for them to just go, okay, I got an issue. This is the first thing I'm going to do. And my life was horrible. I didn't, like, financially, too. I was broke. I was this. I don't want to be in that exact same spot. And you just talked about, like, feeling the pain of someone putting you in a position. Like, I remember when we competed, and I was exhausted, and I was like, I thought like, that was the scary thing. I was like, I thought I ran all them stairs and I did all this, and I was like, this dude's not stopping. I was like, I don't ever want this to happen again and be smothered like that, you know? And now I viscerally remember that still. And that's what pushed my cardio, too. I had athleticism, but I was like, no, man, like, I don't want to feel that shit again.
No, but it's taking those, you know, maybe negative, like, moments, but then being able to build something off of it, like, from there. Like, knowing, okay, this is where I was put in a place where I don't want to be, but now I want to ensure that I don't want to be put back in that same place, like, from there.
And what you just described as pain being the catalyst for that. You talked about early childhood trauma. You talked about not having shit and, like, that...
Being an engine that kind of provided
and then,
you
like,
to go there.
Being in pain. Like, has that, lessons has that provided you with?
I mean, I think with that, it just, like my father-in-law, my stepfather, he was very abusive, and he was mentally, not mentally abusive, but more physically. So for more context, like when we were kids, you know, as kids, my kids do as of right now, you know, time being, you know, young, he'll wake up, go downstairs, turn on the TV, jump in the cabinet, and get his food and watch whatever. When I was a kid, you know, my dad would be like, my stepdad would be like, did I tell you to watch TV? We're like, no. He'd be like, get your ass in the corner. And don't come out until I tell you to. And keep your arms up too, like that. So me and my brother would sit there, me and him just sit there like that. And it's life, it's childhood, right? It's childhood, but that's how he kind of, you know, raised us. So us sitting there, staring at the wall for hours and all that stuff, it kind of makes you mentally tough. And then also, you know, as I got older with the wrestling, when you go to wrestling practice, it's probably one of the best sports you can do to build that mental capacity to be a tough SOB. I mean, you take all that and then you be able to, you know, my mom was like, you know, you can do whatever you want. You just gotta work hard for it, right? And then that's the thing, like, even when, you know, I see people when I was working in 1070, like, when I look back to when I was working 9 to 5, and to where I'm at now, like, obviously financially it's two different, you know, spectrums, but I'm still I remember how happy I was back in that day when I was working 9 to 5, and I'm just as happy as I am right now. Like, my happiness hasn't changed, that makes sense. Like, I just have more freedom. I don't have to go to a work at 9 to 5. Even here, I didn't have freedom, but I was still happy with my wife, Destiny, at the time it was my girlfriend. So it's always different. Like, when I hear people complain, I'm like, I got no fucking money, I can't do this. And I was like, dude, I have like I remember when I was broke, I wasn't bitching complaining. I got my ass up. It was what it was. I got up and I paid my tax and all that stuff. So I just think, but that makes me, you know, not to feel back in that spot again. It makes me like, hey, I'm at this point in my career. How can I prolong this how can I build financial security, not just for me, but for my family after me, my children, my legacy, I guess you could say.
Well, pain can lead to degeneration, and then it can lead to progression too. And
absolutely.
Like, it's what you do with it for sure. And I think it's interesting you talk about, you know, your mentality of, you know, being content as well, but also still wanting to push forward, and that's still true today. Like, from there, as far as your career. I mean, this is a good segue. So when are you fighting again?
Fighting August 2nd in Manila again, Touch Me to Wada. This is my last day here in the States. So I leave tomorrow, Sunday morning, 2 a.m. So we're getting ready for that, and it'll be fun bringing James and Tony over there so they can experience the whole, you know, Singapore or whatnot. But we're looking forward to the fight.
Nice.
Okay. And then let's see, anything you want to say?
Yeah.
Yes. I feel like one day I'm gonna come here. I'm like, let's talk politics. I'm ready to get in fucking arguments.
Yeah, and I'll be here.
because I've been on both sides of it, right? And that's the thing. Like I've been on, I remember Tony. He came and he goes, I met because Tony Sublime. You guys should get him on here.
I know.
I think
we're gonna have him on.
We'll get Tony.
Yeah, because he's all about vesting and all that stuff, and that's like
it's a good perspective.
Good perspective, right? And that's the thing. Like, this is gonna sound horrible. You never told me your name. Endo. So Endo, Ender's dad. We've never talked before, but when I saw him pull out his Nintendo Switch, I was like, okay, we have a passion. Right, we both share the same passion.
It's like
a connection right there, right? So we can talk about games all day. So with Tony, we share a passion with investing. How can you go so much further with your money?
Yeah, smart.
And then he said something one day. He goes, "I went to a thing, a speaker, and
for people who don't know, that's a great Tony Sublime.
Tony's got a good heart.
Yeah, good heart, amazing guy. I love Tony. He goes. The guy said, when my president was black, I pay the most in taxes, and it was a black guy, and he goes, now that our president is white, I pay the less taxes. How does that make sense? And I was like, interesting. But that's kind of but that's a politics.
Guy's a dumbass.
But there was a politics.
Yeah.
But that was the point, like when it comes to politics, because and like when he said that, like that guy had been on both sides of the spectrums, right? To where I believe I've been on both sides of the spectrum. I like to think I've been on both sides of the spectrums. I have come from where 35 cents or not, $35 my account to where now I'm living good. To where when it comes like when you guys talk politics, I was like, ooh, I want to dip into that, but I'm like, well, maybe I shouldn't, because you're like, I hate you, DJ. I'm like, so. But yeah.
No, but that's how you come to different conclusions. Is you have two opposites, and there's a unity there because there's different experiences, and then there's a different set of facts for
But
sure.
then there's also the goals of the debate too, because sometimes people just yell.
There's not constructive. There's not
from
constructive conversations, and my first thing is like, okay, I can admit there's some merit to certain conservative ideologies.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's not all bunk. I mean, but then also the leftist critique of economics and then the social relations. Like, I wish more people really sat and listened to that because it has some validity. And I get business owners too, and there's fiscally minded and socially minded business owners.
Yeah.
So I just like hearing people's perspective.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Here's one that you might like. There was a guy who he was in the military and he lived in Germany and he speaks German or whatever. And he moved to Washington State because his wife got stationed in Madigan and Fort Lewis, Air Force Base.
Okay.
And he's also a teacher. And he went to, we're outside with other kids. He goes, can't stand this fucking state. I'm like, why? And he goes, you guys are so fucking liberal. Like, you guys are blah, 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 blah.
Is he a white dude?
White guy, yeah, from Germany. And he goes, but no, I understand where he's coming from. I was like, I understand.
Yeah.
And he goes, I was like, so what happened? He goes, well, I was in class, and the teacher goes, we're not going to talk about this. We're not going to talk about it. He goes, well, why aren't we going to talk about this? Like, this is the problem in this state, is that you guys only go by a certain law, and you guys don't sit down and talk about it. He's from Texas, so he's conservative, he's Republican. He's like, no, like, you work hard. Like, I'm not going to give you what I worked hard for. Why should I give you what I worked hard for? And then his daughter came home. She goes, I think we should do this. He goes, let me ask you this. Let's say you have someone in your class right now who's not doing anything.
Oh, he's gonna do the grade thing.
He did the grade thing, and I was like, I totally
That's
fucking.
not how economics works. No, it's like these analogies.
I know. But he said that.
Now here's the thing. I'm middle class and I'm working really hard, and then the fucking lazy guys over there live off my tax dollars. It's not them living off your tax dollars, bro. It's not them. It's
All right. We do not.
I was like, here it comes. Here comes the school analogy. Get the fuck out of here. No, but I get him. I think, like, just to finish that off, I mean, people are disgruntled, and I wish, like, we could really focus our energies towards, like, what's the common.
What's the goal? Like,
what's not the scapegoat and the illusion? What's the actual economic grievance?
Yeah.
Whether you're Republican or you're left and you're just struggling, you're part of a working mass. You have a lot more in common than all that. That's not. We can say that for another podcast. He brought it up.
I brought it up.
The guest did. But yeah, we were in this podcast. We can talk politics in a constructive, respectful way. We'll always do that.
Of course.
Yes.
I wanted to talk just one more thing about will and adversity. I remember the first time you fought Ian McCall, right? Mm-hmm. It was a draw.
Yep.
And I remember you told me, and it's just been so long, but you had to go back to the drawing board on that fight. And I don't know if Matt had given you new things to work on, but you said it was a difficult time.
Yeah.
From that draw to the rematch.
Yep.
Do you remember what was
100%. So at that time, I was training at AMC Pacific.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And you said it was really it was a tough time. I remember you were going through, not like you were going through some emotional transition, or some sort of goal you were talking about. I don't remember exactly.
I can't remember. No, I think. No, that was, I think the time when I went to a heart transplant when my mom got cancer, but that was when I was getting ready to fight Ki Yamamoto. I think with this one was just a shock because, we're training AMC Pacific, right? And, I was still working 9 to 5. Was I? No.
No, because you're 125 then.
Yeah, so I wasn't working 9 to 5, but I felt like I was. I felt like I was because I was still driving AMC Pacific. Yeah. But what was I doing in the morning? I felt like I was working because I should have been doing something in the morning. But anywho, so we were working at AMC Pacific. I was teaching Tuesdays and Thursdays. I was teaching there. And after the draw, before that, I wasn't training on the mat. I was just basically me, Drew, everybody at AMC Pacific doing our own thing, right? Yeah. And then eventually, after the draw happened, Matt goes, "Okay, you're done." I was like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You're fucking done." He goes, "Every professional athlete, when they get ready for competition, they leave their comfort zone. You're doing all this stuff down here, and you're coming up." That's what I was doing. I was training down south in the morning. They coming up at night. Long commute. And I was getting, I was absolutely exhausted. And then I also went on my own diet, the caveman diet, and that's why I had no energy.
Because you're so light in that fight.
So light, yeah. And then Matt was like, "Okay, you're done. Whatever you're gonna eat, I'm gonna know. When you train, I'm overseeing everything from now on." And then from that point on, that's when my career took a huge turning point. And that was the hardest thing, is that now, I have somebody taking control of my conditioning, because I've conditioned my whole entire life in cross country, track, wrestling. Then for somebody to be like, "Okay, this is what you're gonna do for conditioning," I'm like, "That's not gonna work." But obviously, he's proved me wrong. It does work. Mm-hmm. That was probably the biggest change, where that struggle where I had to basically give him the reins to run the ship.
Yeah, and then there was a significant difference in the next fight.
No, yeah.
Completely.
What did that?
There forward, it was just,
Yeah, off. I remember after that fight, he goes, "I'm bleeding out of my ears, for God's sakes, I'm done."
The first fight?
No, the second fight. Ian McCall, he's doing he goes, "I'm bleeding out of my ears, I got blood everywhere, I'm done. I'm just going to go
Ian
home."
McCall said that.
Yeah, I didn't say that, no.
I was like, damn, okay. No, but that's interesting. Well, because that just reminded me of, there was this interview with Travis Stevens, who is I want to say a judo silver medalist.
He's from here.
Yeah, he's from Tacoma.
He's badass.
I'm pretty sure. But anyway, he was talking about how he had a similar situation where he used to run all his own training camps, but then what happened is that he felt he competed the best was when he essentially gave his reins to someone else. He goes like, I never realized how much it was when it was all him, how much pressure, or not even necessarily pressure, but how much less control he had, because he was essentially getting pulled in these different directions. He's his own diet coach, he's his own conditioning coach, he's his own schedule. Essentially what he did is he gives he delegated these actions to someone, and it gave him more to focus on the one thing, which was training. From there.
Well, I think the other thing too is it just takes a lot of surrender. You're like, okay, I trust Matt, because Matt's an amazing
trust, of course.
But then you're just relinquishing your routines.
Mm-hmm. It's you're just okay, you're giving your shares here.
You're like, I'm gonna trust in this individual, and then it's also accepting
the most of it. Yeah.
Like most of us, all of us, it's hard to go, well, I don't know everything. Maybe there's something I'm not getting.
Yep.
Maybe, and that just takes humility, but it's hard for especially athletes, when combat sports athletes.
Yeah.
I remember like I didn't take it personally, but like I remember when I started working with Curtis, and you know how Curtis coaches, like I was throwing my right hand and I'm like, man, this has been and he's like, no.
That thing looks
and it
horrible.
just was devastating. I was like, oh my gosh.
But
and then
it's also about
eventually
being attached to it. Yeah.
And then that's a good philosophical point, is that we should always challenge our assumptions.
Yeah.
That's what we just had a conversation about politics. It's
Yeah.
I have my convictions and things I've read, and hopefully we come to a unifying consensus, even if we disagree.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It depends on the disagreement, obviously. Like if it's rooted in no. Seriously though.
Yes.
Not like a point, but actual like existence. Like if you literally believe like, okay, I'm looking at Cody. The way Cody looks, he shouldn't be alive. Me and you can't. I'm just saying, no, we can't. What can we talk? What can we talk about after that?
Yeah.
And if I'm Cody's boy, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna.
No, but I understand what you mean. It's like it's a debate, but it's also open to like a new understanding. It's like a renewed understanding from that.
And
new point. Yeah.
I want to just, and maybe you can talk about it more, because I want you to give the message to people, young people who are involved. Just getting involved in martial arts, people who want to fight, and people who want to learn about just the whole journey. You are always curious. You're a very curious person, intellectually curious. You're a great listener. You're open-minded, and that's taken you so far. If you didn't have that, and you just had your athleticism, I think you would have just... Who knows what would have happened. And that message is important to martial artists and people in general. Is just stay curious. Don't stay shut off. Try things. You may try something and you don't like it, but I remember at AMC Pacific, our mantra was like, you just take what you can from the tree. Because there's so many people coming down and coaching us. So I just want you to talk about open-mindedness real quick, and maybe that's what we'll go out on.
I think at the end of the day, for me, I think for young martial artists, enjoy the journey. The journey, you might not never make it to the professional league. You might never make a damn dime or whatever from your passion of martial arts. But at the end of the day, you take a step back and be like, why are you doing this? Right? Like, are you doing this just to be in the UFC or to be in one championship or to be in Bellator?
Like, what are your goals?
Like, what are your goals? Like, is your goals fitness? Is your goal to have an extracurricular activity so you can stay healthy? So that's the first thing you got to figure it out. And then after that, just be a good student. You know, I still pride myself on being a student to this day, right? Like we all in the gym at AMC, we all still share knowledge, right? Sometimes I'll listen to the person. I always listen, but I might not take their consideration. You know, one of the things that I find helpful is that you find a coach that can beat you up, and that's how it's always been for me. Like in wrestling, my coach, he could beat me up, and that's where I knew that he was legit, right? Like if I could, and even now, like, you know, I go back and forth. Like when I spar James on the feet, that boy just lights me up. Like I just, God, his footwork so good. And then take a step back and I'm like, okay, one, he's longer, but he understands his balance. He understands how to do certain things. So for me, I'll listen to James. I'm like, James, you know what you're doing, right?
You break it down to adaptable elements.
Adaptable element to where like we have, you know, athletic ability wise, we have the same athletic ability. Granted, you know, our structure, he's longer, but you know, he can do things that other people can't do. So I'll listen to him. You know, Matt, I'll listen to him. Brad, I'll listen to him. So for you beginners out there, you know, listen to everybody until you get your mold of how you want to fight, and then just enjoy the journey. Don't put a time gate on when you should go pro or if you should go pro, because I see people all the time like, man, if I'm not pro in 2 years,
have all these set guidelines.
Guidelines. They're like, I'm about to be pro
kind of
in
set
3
them up
years
for failure, because if they miss it, then it's like, oh,
then they get discouraged.
I had a guy come to the gym. He goes, I want to be pro, and I was like, you might as well turn your ass out. Because you're in here for the wrong reasons. And I think that's for me. I think that's a good thing to be honest with people, and that's like I try to be. I try to be 100% honest with people, and I think the only stupid question is the one you don't ask. And that's the way that I've got all my knowledge in fighting, in finances, in life. And that's one thing I would pass to people is ask questions, be curious, and don't have some humility. And if you don't know the answer, if you don't know something, don't feel stupid about it. Just go with it.
Well,
like, I didn't know that.
Speaking of maybe stupid, do you remember that guy at AMC Pacific who quit his job to become a pro. Do you remember that dude? And everyone told him not to, but he did anyway. And then he had one smoker, and then he just never came back.
That sounds so. That sounds so good.
that might have been.
He was walking around the gym.
That might have been for the best.
He's like, I'm gonna be a world champion. I quit my job, and I think it was Drew. Drew was like, yeah, man, I wouldn't have done that.
You know, Drew though. Drew's like, but we'll see down there.
We'll see how that goes. Yeah.
But I think that's a great message, especially coming from you. Saying that, I mean, you did have like a job all throughout.
I did.
You were still a professional.
Yeah.
And it's still, but I think it's not just you having that job, but I think it's your mentality of understanding, and more mentality like moving forward, but also being content with what you have. And like like you said perfectly, like you were content when you were still kind of struggling. There, and now that you are successful or more successful than you were when there. You're still happy. You're not like, oh, well, now I don't.
I remember the other day, me and Desi were sitting down watching TV, and she goes, I don't, like, when she was, like, going through social media and people were, like, bitching, complaining. Just for the record, my wife's super hardcore, like, Republican. So she's, like, she don't give a fuck. And she's like, I cannot think back in a time when we were fucking dead broke and we were miserable. I cannot think about a time. We were absolutely happy. I feel like we were just happy as we were broke until we are now. And I was like, I totally agree. And like for me, when it comes like when I had that working mentality, like I didn't want people to take care of me, right? Like I didn't want nobody to have something over my head with like, well, I helped you do this or whatever.
So you're like indebted to them.
Indebted to them, right? So like that's why I work. Like I didn't want.
You want to be self-sufficient.
I want to be self-sufficient, and that's how I was bred. Like you go to work, like you work. That's what you do.
That's how you earn your freedom.
That's how you earn your freedom, right? Like
my grandfather said, "Man's got to work.
A man's got to eat." Yeah. And it's
like the freedom of action because now it's you dictating.
You dictate what you're doing, and that's the biggest thing. And like for me, it's even to this day, like when amateurs come in, like. And they're going through the process or whatever, I'm like, you need to work like that. My philosophy is like, you need to work, like whether it's you working at damn laundromat or something, you need to work to be able to have money coming in to be able to take care of your other responsibilities. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And having that freedom of choice and understanding too, like the journey. Because the journey doesn't end when when you stop fighting.
No,
it's like it still continues. You still gotta wake up next day. You gotta push whatever this boulder is that you're going there. So it always continues. So yeah, I think that's a great message there. All right, so before we tag off, how can people reach you? Like Instagram handle, Twitter.
You can reach me on what you want to say now.
How can people watch your fight?
You can watch my fight on the One Championship app. It's a super app, One Championship, or you can watch it on YouTube on One Championship. And you guys can follow me on Twitch, Mighty Gaming, also on Twitter, Mighty Mouse, and Instagram is Mighty Mouse 125. So
nice. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody.
Donations.
Oh, donations to the Patreon. www.com Patreon/Pankration.
Have we gotten it yet?
What's up?
Have we gotten it?
Yeah, we have a lot, Scott. So
we do.
You're still alive.
We have a lot more. Oh yeah, thank you. But no, and also, you can get your Pankration philosophy shirts. Yep, at the Spread Shirt Shop. Yeah, Pankration philosophy. Yeah, but thanks everyone that was watching. Yeah, watching, listening, whatever. Thanks, young Ender. This man's single. All right, bye.